It's preview time, and lucky for us, there's another load of brilliant games ahead this weekend in the Premier League. I'm Emma Jones, and I'm joined by McKola and Statman Dave. Now, we're going to focus on the big game this weekend, Manchester United v Arsenal. But don't worry, as always, we're going to be talking about all 20 Premier League clubs. Now, this video is sponsored by The Athletic, the place for the best coverage of your club with a world-class team of writers, including David Ornstein, Sam Lee, and Andy Mitten. Visit theathletic.co.uk/Squawka to start a 7-day free trial and receive 50% off your yearly subscription. So that works out at just £2.50 per month. Now then, Adam, Manchester United are 8th in the league and have won only 5 of their 19 games. Let's hit you where it hurts. Go straight in there. Since the famous night in Paris. Now, drawing 4 and losing 10 doesn't look great at the moment, does it?
It doesn't. It doesn't look great. To be honest, though, I'm not counting the back end of last season, because I kind of feel like the back end of last season we had a lot of players that knew their future wasn't at Manchester United, weren't fit, weren't in form, I think you could say that about a lot of players now, but I think at the end of last season more so at that point. The run obviously doesn't look great when you haven't won an away game since March, and you can't count pre-season games and all that stuff. Obviously, it doesn't look great, but I'm not counting the back end of last season because I think the squad is different. Even like, I keep hearing Manchester United fans saying, this squad has been doing this for this many years, and this squad is like, we're worse than we were. Like this squad isn't the same as it was 6 months ago, never mind 12 months ago. It's completely different. And I think we have to take that into consideration. Nevertheless, Ollie has to get results, because whilst I think all Manchester United fans can agree he deserved more in the window that's just gone, and he deserves another transfer window, and by that I mean a summer window. We can all also agree that the pressure is going to build if you don't get results, because ultimately football is a results game, and we need to see some signs of improvement, whether that's in the football, whether that's in the development of players, whatever it is, we need to see some sign of improvement. And I feel like Ollie hasn't, in terms of tactically. I feel like he's maybe gone into his shell a little bit since he's got the job, and I don't know whether that's because of the squad or whatnot, but he just needs to tinker a little bit.
Well, you said there, Ollie needs at least another transfer window. I mean, Andy Mitten wrote in his recent article in The Athletic that 2 years is not an unreasonable amount of time in which to judge a manager. Do you agree with that? Yes and no.
So I do believe you can judge a manager on the first 6, 12, 18 months or whatever. But like I said, it has to be signs of progression. You can, like, we knew Moyes weren't the man. So you're not going to give Moyes an extra year when you know he's not the man. So I don't think you just give time to anybody. You have to earn that time. But you look at I hate going back to Sir Alex, but look at Sir Alex. He was about to lose his job, but people within the club knew what he was doing and where he was taking everyone, what he was doing with the academy and all that kind of thing. So he earned that time behind closed doors, and I think Ollie's going to have to do that. I think we're going to have to see signs that there's players coming through the academy, they're improving, they're getting opportunities. His signings have all been very good, which is a good thing for him as well. It doesn't look like he's wasted any money. So as long as he gets some results to keep the hounds off his back, I think he'll be all right.
And you can see some sort of direction as well, I guess.
You have to. You can't just give time for time's sake.
Exactly.
And thinking, we gave Fergie time, and because football's changed, but also if it's improving, because you look at Pep in his first season, people calling for his head. Do you remember that? It feels like a long time ago, but people calling for his head, and you could see he was doing something. Same with Klopp, you could see he was doing something. You need to see that with Ollie.
Yeah, but you do have to earn your time as well. Well, Statman Dave, then, what do you think? Are Arsenal in a better position going into this game than Man United?
I think it's quite interesting. I think United's defence is better than Arsenal's defence, but I think maybe Arsenal's attack is a little bit more fluid than United's attack at the moment. So it is this weird game where traditionally it would be Man United's attack going forward, Arsenal's maybe defence, historically 2005 sort of times. But now it's sort of flipped and it's changed. And I think we are getting from Unai Emery, we're getting some good play going forward. And I think with Tierney coming back, with Hector Bellerin coming back into the side, there will be improvements there defensively. But it is this interesting side that Manchester United seem to be this really good counter-attacking beast in these bigger games under Solskjaer. It's almost suited for this. The 4-0 against Chelsea, that was an incredible performance, but they completely undid them on the break. We saw that, last season Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got some good results against Arsenal away from home, especially in that FA Cup, with Sanchez and Lukaku being pivotal to that, which is quite interesting. So it's this side that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer may be suited to playing, these teams that are going to come at them. They're going to want the ball. So United actually just sit deep and then they break with their pace, with their young squad, with the sort of strength. So it is interesting, but I would say if you were going to flip them up, I think they're in very, very, very similar positions. So almost you could say that they're exactly the same. They're on the same point right now.
But I think United are also, the players that we have, we're more suited to that. If you look at our forwards, they're very quick on the break. They got, they can run in behind. Paul Pogba can pick out a pass. And defensively, we've got a good defence. And obviously, our outlets, a lot of it has been from fullback this season. But our team's almost set up to do that. Against West Ham, we set up to play through the middle, and we just didn't have enough. We were far too often, the fullbacks are getting the ball and they're looking up, they don't know what to do with it, they haven't got an option coming deep. And that's why I think it's so important to get Fred and Pogba match fit for this game, because they are receivers and they're going to turn and go the other way and they're going to be able to build attacks. And I just think you're right, there's some big away games that Spurs, Arsenal, Chelsea in the Cup last season, where we looked very good away from home, but I think that's because we played to the strengths of our players as well. Yeah.
I kind of agree with that. I think that you look at it against Manchester City, let's say, and they have those technical players that can receive. De Bruyne, Silva, they do want to pick the ball up and they do want to go forward. Whereas Manchester United, to get that blend right, you kind of maybe need to move the squad around, as you mentioned, get Fred in there, get Pogba in there to push forward and to actually be able to break teams down in a way.
So we've got Man United's lineup from their last Premier League game versus West Ham on screen. And the latest injury news as we're recording this is that there are doubts over Anthony Martial, Luke Shaw and Marcus Rashford. So Adam, how do you think your side could set up with this one?
I think we're going to go with a 4-2-3-1 because that's the formation Ollie's been using pretty much all of the season. I know there's been times where we've dropped into other formations during a game, but he's started a lot of games in that way now. Personally, I'd like to see us in more of a 4-3-3, but I feel like we haven't got the personnel to be able to do that. So I'm looking at midfield because I think our defence is pretty much set in stone unless you see Axel coming for Lindelof, which wouldn't surprise me. So I'd like to see a midfield of McTominay, Fred and Pogba. With maybe McTominay deeper on his own and Fred and Pogba further forward from him. But we'll probably see McTominay, Matic and Pogba with the two, and Pogba occupying a position in the three ahead of the midfield. So it's an interesting one, but we've got to come up with a midfield solution that works ideally, because at the moment it's too slow, too static. Even when Pogba's starting in it, in the two, I feel like he's too deep. He's picking up the ball in front of his defence, and more often than not, because there's not many passes on from that deep of a position, he's losing the ball or he's taking the after ball and dilly-dallying. So the midfield is a key area where we need to sort out and find the best solution. Because we fell upon Matic, Herrera and Pogba last season, and that's when we were doing really well under Ollie. And since we've gone away from having a settled midfield, we've gone away from having a settled team. Yeah,
I think that's an interesting one. I think Fred, it's crying out for Fred to play in central midfield. I think not only does he give United so much on the ball, but off the ball as well, his press. And I think we saw when he came on in the last Premier League game how United kind of changed a little bit when he was on the pitch. They were a little bit higher. They decided to go for it a little bit more. So for me, 100% coming in there. The other interesting side there, though, Jesse Lingard, been directly involved in 5 goals in his last 5 games versus Arsenal. Would you start him?
It depends. I don't know how Arsenal was set up, because we've seen them in a diamond, we've seen them in a 3, and we've seen them in a 4-2-3-1. So it's kind of hard to see how they'll play, but Jesse Lingard could be vital in terms of if we did play Pogba in a deeper position in midfield, you then play Jesse further forward. He's better with the press than Paul Pogba is. So if you have Jesse Lingard in that hole with, say, a Rashford or a Martial or a Greenwood in front of him, you've then got someone to start the press from a position high up the pitch, and we've seen how that worked. I think one of the great goals that we scored at Arsenal is where Lingard pickpockets the defender and starts the attack. And I think it's vital he's in form for the whole season, because he kind of gets a lot of that pressing going. You've seen at times without him, from midfield, we'll have one go and press or one on his own, and it's never in, as a team. And I think Jesse Lingard starts it off well. So I think if Jesse's fit and ready, start him. But he could start from the left or right as well.
Now, we've spoken about Manchester United's youngsters in a video you can watch via the description below. So if we look at another part of their side, Statman Dave, do you think Manchester United can throw Anthony Martial straight back into this game if he is fit after injury?
I think it's definitely an option. I think Martial's, shown that he plays quite well against Arsenal. He usually turns up, usually grabbing himself a goal. But it is that fitness and how United want to approach the game. I think if United do want to play on the counter-attack, sit deeper, perfect guy. I think the way that he's linked the play this season has been really good. The parts that he needs to maybe improve is the little bits of movement inside the box to be more of maybe a poacher, more of a goal scorer. But if he's not fit, and Rashford's not fit, then I think it is going to be all about Mason Greenwood. And we've seen Marcus Rashford score twice against Arsenal, after just breaking into the team.
After a goal in Europe.
Exactly, a goal in Europe as well. Is that something Mason Greenwood can do?
I think Mace definitely can do that. I think he'd be an unknown quantity for their defence. I think Arsenal fans got very excited when they signed David Luiz in the summer, and it was a strange one to me, especially when a club with the transfer ban selling you a player. It's a bit of a weird one, and I think David Luiz is definitely a player we should be targeting. He's someone that's going to come out with the ball at his feet, try and play balls, usually give them away in the middle of the park, and if you can spring a counter-attack from there, Mason Greenwood's very good for that. In terms of Martial, I agree with you, his movement needs to improve, but I have seen something in him since when we were out in Australia and Singapore and on pre-season watching him, and his movement was getting better from there. He was trying to do things from the front, trying to even initiate the press at times. And I think in terms of a finisher, is better than Marcus Rashford. His movement probably isn't as good, but it's getting there. And I think we're crying out for him back up top, because then that allows Rashford to go back out wide. It allows Greenwood to be able to come off the bench and become an option from there. And it gives us another goal scorer, but we're missing Martial at the moment, and I hope he is back for that game.
Right, so this is Arsenal's 11 from their 3-2 Premier League win over Aston Villa. And the latest injury news is that Arsenal could have key fullbacks Hector Bellerin and Kieran Tierney ready to start. So how do you expect them to approach the match at Old Trafford?
I think it could be interesting. I think Matt brought it up before. Emery's played a number of different systems as Arsenal manager. It could be a diamond, it could be a three at the back. But I think it might be the 4-2-3-1. I think it might match Manchester United, knowing that United will play that shape and go sort of that man-to-man. I think the interesting side, without the two fullbacks that you just mentioned there, Bellerin and Tierney, Arsenal are a little bit suspect defensively, not only in the positioning of Maitland-Niles and Kolasinac. You can get behind them with balls over the top, but it's also their rashness in their decision-making. Maitland-Niles have been sent off twice in the last 7 games in the Premier League. That is, could be becoming a bit of an issue. And it is about that midfield base. It's like Granit Xhaka. We all know that he's got that weakness, and there is weaknesses in this side, but if they do have those two fullbacks in, as I mentioned before, if it is Hector Bellerin and Kieran Tierney from the start, you've got the side is 20 times better already. It's as simple as that. The Arsenal are a better side with them in there. But then their fitness, is that another area United could target? There's a few questions around this side, I think.
They have a tendency to wander as well, Bellerin and Tierney. Not wander in a bad way, but obviously they like to attack, they like to get forward. And with that being said, there'll be gaps in behind. United have struggled when teams have come to Old Trafford or anywhere and just sat back and sat with 2 banks of 5. We find it hard to break teams down. You look at the games that we won with Leicester and Chelsea, 2 teams that didn't just go all out attack, but tended to attack a little bit more. So I think Arsenal actually coming out, and if they did play with those fullbacks, obviously they're better than the ones that we'd rather see out on the pitch, but you'd think that maybe they'd taken their after ball behind them a little bit more. And Tierney's played 1 game against Forest. Is he going to be fully up to speed, match fit? He's just come from the SPL, which we know isn't the level of the Premier League. So it'd be a big ask to throw him straight into a game at Old Trafford, but he's probably a good choice for them at the moment.
So in a recent article for The Athletic, James McNicholas said that Arsenal's current style of play is utterly unsustainable. What do you think he means by that, Dave?
I think the big thing there is that when they go forward, they do, create things. I think with the fullbacks, be it Tierney or, any of the other players, that they push them really high. And it's that level that, look, when they get caught out, they're really poor to reorganise, which isn't what you expect from Unai Emery. But in the final third, they have the quality there. Ceballos looks like a decent player. Aubameyang is in great form. And Nicolas Pepe, Dan James has scored more goals than him in the Premier League this season, but is the top dribbler in the Premier League. So he can take you on, can run at you. So it's that side of it that going forward, they look good. Defensively, they look very, very open. It's weird that we're still seeing Granit Xhaka in this Arsenal team. He's a player that is just so suspect. And thinking that you could put Lucas Torreira as a holding midfielder next to Guendouzi, it just seems
if
a
they
bit...
start with Xhaka and David Luiz in the spine of their team, I'll be buzzing. I genuinely will. Obviously, I fear them going forward, and even with that Lacazette, with Aubameyang, Pepe, Saka's in good form. With those players, they can always cause you a problem, particularly on a break. We've seen United occasionally give the ball away. West Ham United kept doing it, kept giving the ball away. Whenever we try to set up an attack, whether it was Victor Lindelof, Ashley Young, whoever, they'd give the ball away and lose it. And we were fortunate in the first half. West Ham kept giving it back to us. Arsenal won't do that. They'll find the runs of Pepe and Aubameyang and they can punish us. So we need to make sure that we don't make the same mistakes we did against West Ham in possession because Arsenal will punish us more.
Right then, let's take a look at the rest of the Premier League fixtures taking place this weekend. First off, on Saturday, the early kick-off at Sheffield United take on Liverpool. Sheffield United have gone on quite a good run since getting promoted, haven't they? But they aren't going to be looking forward to this.
I think this is a big one for them. I think they showed against Everton that they've got that sort of good grit in midfield, grit at the back. And with Dean Henderson in goal, his save percentage in the Premier League this season is 75%. Better than the likes of Adrian, Leno, and you're looking at other goalkeepers around the league that he'll better there. But Liverpool have got that quality going forward. It's not going to be a quiet game for him. He's been making so many saves, and I think that's the side that if Salah or even someone like a Firmino who's started the season in red hot form, if he can get a good bit of run together, then it's not going to look good for Sheffield United's centre halves.
We have seen some shocks though, haven't we? Look at the Norwich-Man City game.
We have, yeah, and Sheffield United have tactically been very good under Chris Wilder. I think he's done well with them this season. And I kind of tipped them to go down. And already after 6 games, I'm kind of thinking maybe that was a stupid idea because they look quite set. They haven't spent a whole load of money. And they've kind of come in, they've stayed within their means. They've got a very hard-working squad because Fulham affected their team. Like they came up and then just started buying all these players and lost that team spirit and that team effort they've built. They've kept that together. So Chris Wilder's been very impressive, and I don't think they've leaked as many goals as Norwich. Obviously, you mentioned Dean Henderson, but they'll be confident of keeping a clean sheet, but I don't think they will.
Okay, well, we move on then.
Unfortunately.
Burnley head to Villa Park.
It's going to be an interesting game, the Battle of the Clarets. I think that Aston Villa have shown that they've got some decent parts of their team. Jack Grealish has looked good in recent weeks. The assist he got, sort of a classic sort of inside run from Jack Grealish. I'm starting to really appreciate him as a footballer now in the Premier League. John McGinn could cause them problems. Burnley are this just horrible team to play against, as they always are, where they've got the likes of Chris Wood, or Ashley Barnes, who will score a goal if it, from a set piece, from open play. They're still an ugly team, but they score pretty goals now, which is quite interesting. How Sean Dyche has moved this side on. So I would expect Villa to have the upper hand, but you could see Burnley hitting 2 long balls in the channel. It's game over.
I think Aston Villa fought that in some of the other home games they've had this season, West Ham, Bournemouth, where they would have fought. Yes, these teams are Premier League teams and they're established, but they would have been hoping to beat them. I think the problem for them, and I know he scored against Arsenal at the weekend, although I didn't watch the game, has been Wesley up top. He's been very hit and miss. In the one game they have won, he scored the winner. But apart from that, he hasn't done much for them. So it depends whether he turns up. And we know how good Burnley are at the back. Tarkowski, Ben Mee. They'll probably feel like they're going to have an easy day with Wesley. And if that happens, then you're looking at Jack Grealish or someone pulling something out of the bag. But again, I think Burnley will go there thinking, we should be getting 3 points here. And these are the games Aston Villa will want to win to keep their Premier League status. So it's an interesting game.
Absolutely, it'll be a good one to watch that. Right, Bournemouth.
I don't know if it will.
It will be a good one.
I'm not sure about that.
Why?
Because Burnley, they're probably going to keep a clean sheet. And do they score many goals?
Game
Not
over
really.
for Burnley.
Dot question mark.
So it could be like a 1-0 to Burnley or something like that.
Well, we'll keep our eyes
Put
peeled
your
for
money
it.
on a 4-4 draw now.
Right, Bournemouth take on West Ham.
Unfortunately, Lanzini out. Very, very crucial to how West Ham play. They're a little bit flat without him in the side for me. They did turn over Man United last week.
Yeah.
But
I just think
at the same time,
just beaten Manchester United, the mighty Manchester United.
I think the same side, when they have the ball, they do dominate possession in certain games. They need someone like a Lanzini, like Mark Noble and Declan Rice aren't going to thread balls through, open you up. And I think that's the side of it that Bournemouth at the moment are starting to hit some good form. Callum Wilson's back in the goals. Ryan Fraser's back in the assists. And they're the 2 key players. If they get those guys firing, independent of the rest of the side, those 2 guys are in form. They're sort of laughing in this game. So I think it'll be a real tight one between the 2 teams.
It'll be what will be good for West Ham is I thought Yarmolenko was impressive at the weekend against Manchester United. Obviously got their first goal, got them underway. With Bournemouth having a lot of possession, I think he'll be key on the counter-attack for West Ham. I can see there being a few goals in this one, but again, I think Bournemouth's form's been very
hit and miss.
Iffy, and West Ham might go there thinking we can pull off, because they're home, with home advantage and everything, you'd think Bournemouth. But the crowd can get a bit iffy after 45 minutes, and West Ham can come into it. So Pellegrini will be going there for 3 points.
Right then, well, Brighton ahead to Stamford Bridge. Statman Dave, what are you saying?
The big one, Tammy Abraham's going to be crucial in this. I think he's got goals in him. I think he was unlucky not to score against Liverpool. The 2 flicks that he tried, was nice. But Brighton are a little bit, they will look to play out from the back, and I think that might fall into how Frank Lampard wants his team to play. Quick on the break. Mason Mount's going to be back to full fitness. We're taking that ankle knock in the Champions League last week, so he's going to be back in, sort of, hitting the shots and so forth. But I think it will be about Tammy Abraham. I think he's just what a player.
I think Graham Potter's a good coach though, and I think Lampard and Potter would have met a few times last season with Derby and Swansea, and they might have an idea about each other. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Brighton go there and pull off a result because of the fact, obviously Chelsea at home, all the pressure. But having said that, Tammy Abraham's form is fantastic, and the thing is, he's scoring goals against the teams you'd expect him to. Like, he's getting the goals.
It's not a bad thing, is it?
Like, like in the bigger games, maybe you'd think, is Tammy Abraham good enough? But he's getting goals, so you can't complain, and he might be good for a few more.
Absolutely. Well, Crystal Palace are going to want to win against Norwich, aren't they?
Crystal Palace this season, ugly, getting the job done. Norwich, the exciting side, but they've not been great away from home. Then that's something that they need to improve on, be it playing a 3-man midfield, maybe throwing that in there. But with Bundia in the side, with Pukki, with Campbell, you've got that ability going forward. So whether they can, keep it safe at the back, which you kind of might not expect. Crystal Palace are weird, Ayew scoring goals, Zaha not really back in form this season. So it's going to be a really interesting game. This will be a game to see whether Norwich stay in the league, because they can beat City, but they need to be beating these sort of teams.
I just don't see anything fresh enough from Palace this year. I don't think they've changed enough. There's not anything really different there, and their players that were there, like the Milijevic and all those guys, they're getting older, and I don't see anything fresh about that. The manager's very old. Like, everything just seems Zaha wants out, and it could be a long season for them this year. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Norwich go there and win.
Really?
Seriously, games like that, where Crystal Palace fans are going to be telling we should win this game. And there are the ones that I thought I wouldn't put Palace in an accumulator this weekend, 100% not.
So you think they could be surprised, Crystal Palace fans? Right then, Spurs v Southampton.
Bit of a dodgy spell for Pochettino, this. His first probably of his career, yeah, it's looking interesting. I think the team selections have been very weird. The Dele Alli not playing, Eriksen always being on the bench. Yeah, Eriksen might be leaving on a free in the summer, but he is your best player. He's your best creator in that side. And without him, they don't have anyone. They bought Lo Celso in the summer, but he's injured. So Poch kind of needs to maybe swallow his pride and just be like, look, we're going to play him to the end of the season. And then he's gone. Thanks for the service. Cool. One guy they've got that obviously is scoring goals for fun, Harry Kane. His finish off his feet was fantastic. And if there is someone there with Heung-min Son, they're the two guys that you're looking at. But I really think Christian Eriksen back in that side and Dele Alli. You've got to play Dele Alli back into form. He's that good a player that you can't have him on the bench week in, week out. And if that all comes together, Southampton haven't got a chance. I think that's the side of it. But if they don't play, they still have this boring central midfield of Harry Winks playing sideways passes. Southampton will hit him on the break. We've seen what Danny Ings did against in Portsmouth in the South Coast Derby. You can't go and play Ralph Hasenhüttl's side and think that you're going to, it's going to be dead easy, because it will be a fight.
Portsmouth did have a lot of opportunities though in that game, and that's one thing that Tottenham will be looking at. But Southampton, on the other hand, are going to go to Spurs with a completely different mentality to they did go into Fratton Park. And they're probably going to expect to soak it up a little bit more of the pressure. And we've seen with Spurs at home, was it Newcastle beat them there this season? So they're not fully comfortable at home. I do think they'll pull a result out of the bag though, because the pressure's really on, and they seem to do that for Pochettino. Like, we can argue whether he should have had a trophy or whatever by now, but that team seem to fight for him when they need to, and I think they'll get a result. Well,
they certainly need to. Both teams are going to be wanting to win this one. Wolves v Watford.
Two of the bottom two teams in the Premier League. Wolves have just really struggled.
Are
to
they
go
both
for league.
bottom? I haven't looked at the league
19th and
table.
20th.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at the league table since 2013.
I wouldn't bother, mate. There's no point. Stats aren't great anyway, are they, Matt? But no, I think this is a big one for Wolves, and whether they can get out of this bit of a poor patch. Same with Watford, though. The hammering that they took from Man City last week was almost embarrassing. And if
does it count? You don't count if you get slapped by City. Come on.
But it does still have to count.
The nature of the slapping was pretty bad.
Yeah.
I think
they beat Swansea midweek, which was a difficult game. That's a bit of confidence. The drew with Arsenal. I don't think you're allowed to count these City games.
Just don't count them.
If you get beat 8-0 by City, come on.
No, but ultimately you're still in the same league, so you have to, and it's insulting surely to say, well, it's fine.
We're not in the same league.
But
City
they
are in a different league.
Technically they are, and is that not insulting to Watford to say it shouldn't count? Because really, they should be fighting for that. They shouldn't be getting beaten 8-0.
Because we'd probably get beat 8-0 by them. I'm not being insulting to Watford. I'm just like
City, Man United now.
City are on another planet. City are on another planet, and it's like losing. Okay, it was 5-0 after 20 minutes, and then it was only like they only scored 3 more goals by end. So like they did kind of sort themselves out in the second half a little bit, but like I just don't think you can read too much into getting battered by City. Do you know what I mean?
But they
anybody.
They sacked their manager because of that, because of the nature of one of the reasons was the nature of the defeat in the FA Cup final where they got beat 6-1. Yeah. And now Kike Flores has just lost 8-0. Is he gone again?
I feel like this should be a video on its own. Is it okay to get beaten by City? Can everyone get beaten by Man City? And
if that was the title of the video, I would have to say no. Because people are coming looking for that answer for that question. Absolutely. So don't change the title of this video.
What are you saying then, Wolves v Watford?
Wolves home win.
Okay.
But I'm not sure. They've been iffy, innit?
So either or then. Right then, the late kick-off at 5:30, Everton v Man City.
Could be the last game Marco Silva's in charge at Goodison Park. The fans seem to be turning. It's not looking good. I think you've not seen enough from the players that you expect. Richarlison hasn't really started the season in any sort of form, not found any rhythm, but that's kind of what Everton are doing at the moment. Like there's no, when you watch them, they should have won a lot of these opening games. They've played easy teams, bar City. I think they've had a decent run, that they should be, in and around the top of the league, similar to, maybe a West Ham United of how they've done. And I think the problem is now they're going to come against City. They need the result. It's going to be very difficult for them to get that result.
Good result for them against Sheffield Wednesday in a cup, which will maybe take a little bit of pressure off. They got a few goals as well, so their strike force will be looking. And I think Richarlison and Iwobi started in that game, so maybe they'll be at it a little bit more. But again, coming up against City, it's hard, isn't it? It's like coming up against City is difficult for any team. But Everton, it wouldn't surprise me with the way this league campaign is going. I think it's all geared up for Liverpool to win the league. Wouldn't be surprised if Everton took some points off them.
Off Man City? Really? Wow. Watch this space. The Sunday kickoff then, 4:30, Leicester v Newcastle.
Again, it's one of those attack versus defence type games. We see them a lot in the Premier League. One team really boring, another team that's quite exciting. If James Maddison's fit for this, that will give him a lot of midfield. His goal was fantastic last week, and it's been coming. That is, the underlying stats for his performances, his shots were very good. So it was leading to a point where he would start to score goals. I think he's going to be vitally important to keep pushing them forward, to keep opening up teams, to keep being creative, getting goals and stuff. And I think you look at Jamie Vardy against Newcastle, that's a game that he just would absolutely love. James Vardy hitting the channels, pressurising Newcastle's back three when they're in possession. So it's sort of set for this. I'd back Leicester through the hill to pick up 3 points against Newcastle United.
Yeah, I think they'll batter them. Sorry, Brucey, but I think Leicester will absolutely slap them. They scored 4 more goals in the midweek. I think Leicester City will put Newcastle to the sword. I think they're a really good team at the moment, and they're playing very good football as well. Got good players in all departments on the pitch, and they'll get 3 points.
Right then. And we've already spoken, of course, about the Monday night kickoff, Man United v Arsenal. Now, before you go, Adam, there's just one last thing we want you to do. The fabled Squawka challenge. So here's the current leaderboard. Sam Lee and Jamie Jackson, 24. Paul Machin is on 8. Nick Bright and Jesse Lingard, 7. Stephen Howson, 6. And Rory Jennings, 5.
Howson mopping up the bottom. What is he doing there?
Well, let's see if you can beat him. So your challenge is, you have 60 seconds to name as many Brazilian football clubs as you can, starting now.
And they got 20. All right, Chapecoense, Santos, Corinthians, Cruzeiro, Atlético Mineiro, Atlético Paranense, Fluminense, Flamengo, Did I say Corinthians?
Yeah. you said that.
Cruzeiro.
Yeah, said that. How long do we have left?
CSA. Ave. I've gone. My head's gone. Flamengo. Did I say them?
Yeah.
You've probably got about 15 seconds left.
Cruzeiro.
20 seconds.
Who's that one United played, remember? Oh, it's gone. It's gone.
I mean, you're doing really well.
11.
11?
I'll take that.
I mean, that was pretty impressive, Adam. You got 11, which puts you right into second place, just under Sam Lee and Jamie Jackson.
Well, at least to beat the Scouser, and I'll beat Stephen House, and that's good, isn't it?
And technically, you're the person who's top on your own.
Yeah.
How could, what? They had two brains?
Yeah. So with one brain, you're second. Well done,
I haven't even
Adam.
got one brain, so I should go top of the league for that.
Well, we beg to differ. Well done. Now then, thank you again to The Athletic for sponsoring this video. Visit theathletic.co.uk/Squawka to start a 7-day free trial and receive 50% off your yearly subscription. So that works out at just £2.50 per month. If you do that, you'll hear more from their world-class team of writers like David Ornstein and Sam Lee, who we've had on the channel previously. Thank you so much for coming along, Adam. As always, Statman Dave, thank you very much. Tell the people at home where they can find more of you online.
Oh, sorry, I was still thinking of Brazilian teams. YouTube.com/Adam McKola and YouTube.com/FullTimeDevils. And any more? Did I say Palmeiras?
No.
No. But time's up.
That was a Team United play that you were thinking of.
Yeah.
Time's up. But you did get 11. Pretty solid. Straight into second. So well done. Thank you so much, Adam. Remember, we want your feedback in the comments. We're going to invite guests from other clubs along each week to put suggestions in the comments for people that you'd like to see on here. Subscribe if you're new for more videos like this. Enjoy the weekend's football, and we'll see you next time on Squawka.